Since we got past 9, 12, 30 on the clock, I'll round off. So, you get past 2.5, you get to round up to 5. That's how we grade here on the show. And so it is a Wall Pass Wednesday, and our leadoff hitter on Wall Pass Wednesday is, as always, Tyler Pilgrim from our friends over at Scarves and Spikes. Scarves and Spikes. See, and I have to do it in the mirror, so it's like N Spikes, and hope that I get it right.
I don't know how you do an N with your fingers, but yeah.
Well, because if I'm looking at it and I'm doing it toward me, it's like this, and so it's like, okay, so I have to do it in reverse. So it's this way toward me, and then this way, the other way toward y'all.
Fair enough.
All right. So first and foremost, the most important question of the segment: where's the mug and what's in it?
So no surprises. I'm doing the Scarves and Spikes one again.
Okay.
I was going to do the Great Wolf Lodge one.
A plug, I'm sure, at some point, as there should be.
I was out. We went to the Great Wolf Lodge this weekend, and I didn't get a new mug there, but I have the one that I have shared on the show before.
Okay.
And I just was too lazy to grab that one this morning.
But there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's all about proximity. And the thing is, we're as guys, I will present as my evidence this particular plastic cup.
Yeah.
And it comes from a kickoff classic at so it doesn't even, it does. It lists the venue.
I see August 31st of some year on there too.
Correct. And the venue is listed as Georgia Dome. So you know how old this cup is. And as a guy, we're just like, is anybody else touching it? No. It's our germs. I mean, it's like, look, I've touched it. No one else is touching it. No one else is going to, experience what I've experienced in this cup / mug / drinking container. So if it's okay for me, it's still going to be okay for me later.
Yeah.
And so as long as no one else touches it, then everything's fine. You don't get any of my cooties. You don't get any of my germs. None of that happens to you as long as you don't touch nothing. And it literally, I mean, it's like guys with all of their stuff, it's
if that repository of choice liquid was good yesterday, it's good today.
This is what I'm saying. So this is where we are wired here as a part of all of this stuff. I know that there was a story that is out now on the website. I believe that's what the kids call it, is a website.
Yes.
And there was some work that was done by the SNS crew about someone who puts butter in their coffee. And so you guys had the chance to catch up with Javier Armas over with the 2's, and your timing once again kismet, considering Chattanooga FC is coming to town tonight. Someone think that might even be planning. What was it like for the SNS guys to catch up with someone who is growing into his role there with Atlanta United 2 and has shown the three-dimensional thought that is needed at times for the positions that he plays?
So I think, with Javi, first of all, he's just a pleasant guy, like soccer notwithstanding, like he's a nice guy. He's genuinely like happy to be a part of this organization. And, Henry was the one, shout out to Henry Higuita. He's the one that actually did the interview and wrote the article. But one of the things that Javi kept bringing up was he's living his dream. This is what he's wanted since he was a kid. And, I think you saw a lot of it in the preseason, and it took people by surprise. Like he's a talented footballer. He really is. Mm-hmm. He has that Spanish, like very fundamental Spanish kind of flair to him, both, I think, like personally and in his soccer.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I think he plays at an IQ level above probably what you would expect coming out of college, but he spent so much time with the, La Coruña Academy, and like it was a good group that he grew up playing with. And so, I only got to talk to him for a short bit of time yesterday when they did the interview because I had to go, but it was nice being able to meet him. And again, just a super like personable, nice guy. And like, you can tell knows the game, but is just like, it's not lost on him that he needs to live in the moment because he's now where he's been wanting to be for his entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cool to see.
Yeah, and when you get to see, and hey, he got to escape the Tupac, which is what is left of the Pac-10, 12,
Yeah.
14, however many it's left. So,
Yep.
from his time out west, he comes here, and to your point about what we saw in the preseason, it's like, okay, where did he pull that move from?
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there going, okay, dude's a warlock, man. And there are times where you're just sitting there going, whoa, we got to see what else is going on with Javi Armas.
And he can take, well, I think the thing that stood out to me first when I first saw him play, I don't know if he played in Birmingham. I can't remember, but I know he played in Athens. And I remember in Athens, it stood out to me that he was immediately, when he came on, the first choice to take free kicks and corner kicks, and how good he is at them. And I mean, he's already scored one this year with the 2's. I think it's one. It might have been two. I don't know. But I know he scored.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's either way. But I mean, he's talented, right? He's got a little bit of flair to him.
Mm-hmm.
He's tricky, but he's that midfielder that has the attitude that you want, right? To kind of help lay down the law when need be. But he's just a fun guy, though,
And maybe to quote the Beastie Boys, he's crafty. And so when you have guys like that, they're real fun watches. And if you're in the northwest part of town or want to make the trip tonight, it is the 2's in Chattanooga FC, and that'll be on the network pregame at 7, a little after 7:30 for kick. Do you have any clue what this derby should be named, by the way? Has this been rattled around in the SNS offices as to what we should call Chattanooga FC VS period ATLUTD 2?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. So
Okay.
Chattanooga FC, like I love that club. I really do, because they were there during the time when the Silverbacks were not and Atlanta United was not, and we go to Chattanooga so much, and it's just like a second home to us. So like I've thought a lot about this actually.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I haven't really come up with anything like that just kind of hit home, but I've like there's some good ones, because I was trying to figure out like what ties the two cities together, and I think the biggest one is their kind of shared history of being like railroad towns.
Okay.
And so this one, I'm only saying this because it has the wordplay in it.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
no, go for it. Yeah.
Choo Choo Challenge. All right.
All right.
But I cannot, in good conscience, call a derby the Choo Choo Challenge.
Okay.
So another one was
Choo Choo Challenge after
what was it? The train. Train wreck tussle was one that popped up.
Okay.
But I haven't really come up with anything good as far as like, typically you say like the whatever derby,
yeah,
or rivalry. And I just haven't really come up with anything that makes it sound good using those words.
The age of aquariums.
Wait. Oh yeah, that's true. That is true. You have two really big ones. That's a good tie-in.
The Little Debbie Derby.
Ah, yeah, with the moon pies.
Because the Little Debbie's offices are in suburban Chattanooga.
Yeah, you do Little Debbie and then something with the moon pies.
Oh,
how they, man, I didn't even think about the aquarium though, or the Little Debbie. There's also, I mean, if you wanted to go the fast food route,
when you got to have it, you got to have it. Yeah,
pick one in Atlanta, but then you also have Crystal in Chattanooga.
Absolutely. Let's see. So something with squares. Something involving squares. So that is officially the QOD. What in the wide world of sports do we call this rivalry between Atlanta United 2 and Chattanooga FC? That is the $1 million question. What is this?
Good ones in the chat.
Yeah. So let's see. So we've got the trial on the tracks. Alex Bassine's on fire this morning. So Alex Bassine has the trial on the tracks. He changed his preposition. So yes, David, Cokes and moon pies. We gotta think about that. Kefsey says he feels like Colorado might fight about it. How old is Chris Armas, and can he pass up Nick Firmino? They play the same position. The two tracks tussle. And so Kefsey seconds the trial on the tracks. So looks like early returns of the trial on the tracks. So we were trying to think of something with I-75. We were trying to think of something, but yeah, literally as you were going through everything that's in Chattanooga, I was like, oh, the age of aquariums.
Yeah, the aquarium was a good one. I wasn't even thinking that route. And I love the Tennessee Aquarium. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. And I obviously love the Georgia one as well, except the fact that it's packed all the time. So
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, so Kevsey was saying it's about the Mountain View. My bad. Okay. So Alex isn't wearing his.
that was the other one. And I couldn't think of anything good, but like, you have Lookout Mountain and like it's famous for being in Tennessee, but most of it's actually in Georgia.
Yeah.
So I thought that could be like a good point of contention, but I mean, there's nothing that like L, right?
Yeah.
Like what would work with Lookout Mountain?
The Lookout Mountain lockup.
That's solid. I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
So maybe this is something that SNS puts to its readers as well. It's like,
yeah, this is a we're going to have to figure this out.
Yes. So it's what we figure out with this derby. And for Steve Cook and for Atlanta United too, it's an opportunity once again to flush but not forget, considering what has happened over the last two matches with FC Cincinnati 2 and Philadelphia Union 2, who are, as you normally would associate, they are your second clubs. They have the DNA and the thought pattern of your parent clubs. And with Philadelphia, it was two absolute golazos. And if you go back and listen to Jason's call, there was some adventurous officiating. We'll go ahead and phrase it that way.
Yep.
And then with FC Cincinnati 2 on the weekend, it's the battle that you traditionally have with all of your second teams. It's like you have first team players coming down for insert reason here, reps, injury, rehab. You've got the second team players that are there consistently. Then you have the academy folks that are brought in, and it's trying to come up with that Venn diagram and the jigsaw puzzle of trying to figure out how the pieces fit. And now you're going up against, as Steve has said tonight, a team that is its own first team. I mean, it's like, this is not CFC2. This is Chattanooga Football Club coming in with experienced players, and it will be interesting to see what the mix will be tonight for Atlanta United too.
And they're good. It's not like this is this is their first team, but they're a solid team. They really are. And they play really good football. I know y'all have had Coach Rod on the show. We've had him on the show last year. Like, his philosophy to the game is very disciplined, and he gets everything I think he possibly can out of his players. And so I think anybody that maybe doesn't pay much attention to Next Pro might look at this match, and at face value, they might see, oh, well, Chattanooga's the newcomers. Like, they're not going to be that great. They're going to have that newcomer syndrome.
Not so fast, my friend.
That is not even kind of close to the truth. So like this one, how I would argue that going into this 3-game stretch, it would be maybe Philly notwithstanding, because Philly has a great academy and a great pipeline. But I would argue that this match would be the one I would have been most fearful about, because a lot of, like what you said, they are a first team and they are out for blood. They want to play the game, and they're going to come out hot. They're going to come out. And for them, MLS Next Pro is about winning MLS Next Pro. It's not like of course, you're going to want to move up to bigger, better leagues, whatever. I get that. But for Chattanooga FC, for Carolina Core, like for some of these teams, they're going into it. This is their league, and they're going to want to win it. And so that's what they're going to shoot for.
Yep. Right now, as things stand in the Southeast, Chattanooga is leading the division with the win that they got on the weekend. And they are 2 points ahead of Messi and Friends B. And Purple Team is in third. I think it was Hunt City, if I'm not mistaken. So Chattanooga's at 12 points, and they are through 5 matches. They're right now on top in the Southeast Division and making a statement in the Eastern Conference. So the elongated plug for going to watch the 2's tonight. You get to see and we got into this discussion yesterday about Atlanta United 2, and there were some folks on the media that is social saying it's a hard watch. And I was positing as a part of the discussion that you are there to have people learn. Yes, winning is a part of it, but you're also there to make sure that the younger players learn about what it's like in the club, what it's like to have this philosophy and learn and grow inside this philosophy. And yes, there are some growing pains that are associated with it, but then you get to see the end result of individuals like a Noah Cobb, who's been in the system since he was 15 and been playing USL Championship, playing up against folks twice his age, not backing down. You're seeing what Noah's up to. Efren Morales is another example of that here at Center Back University, as I call it, where you have all of these guys. Tony Annan thought Efren Morales was a center back, literally. Yep. And so you see what Efra's doing, and now Efra's the next one in line. And to continue to see folks like Aiden Torres, Caden Moore, all of these folks, and those folks that are there on the 2's deals, like Noble Okello, who we saw with Toronto FC. And so all of these, and Javi Armas. So you get to see all these different things coming together. Yes, it is a difficult jigsaw puzzle. Yes, the staff enjoys that challenge and tries to integrate it as best they can on a day-to-day basis. But you get to sit there and see, yeah, I saw them win. And so that was, that's what you're staring at here with Atlanta United too.
Yeah. So on the show last week, it was actually funny because Tommy, he asked me on the live show, sell me on watching the 2's.
Whoa.
And
okay.
Yeah. And my answer was, you have to go into it with the mindset that you're watching individual players. Like, if you get a win, that's a bonus. I mean, go to support them. Like, if you're near Kennesaw, go watch them, because one, Fifth Third is just a fun venue because you're so close, right? You're right there. You can hear everything on the pitch. Literally.
Yeah, you can.
Yep. But, yeah, they may go and they may have rough matches. They may have really rough matches. But watch the Luke Brennans, watch the Aiden Torreses, watch, the moments like when an Ashton Gordon gets to play, or, some of these guys, and just think about what could be as they continue to grow, because what they are now is not going to be the same thing they are a year from now or 4 years from now. So, yeah, I mean, you're going to see an identity, and I think we see that week in and week out, but also you're not looking at a polished prime first team when you watch the 2's and most to like academy, feeder teams in MLS Next Pro. You're not seeing a full product at this point. So you don't go to it with the same mindset that you're going to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and you're watching the first team play. So yeah, I mean, if you want to have a deeper knowledge of what could be in a couple of years, we were shouting all the things about Noah Cobb years ago.
Yep.
We were shouting all the things about Luke Brennan years ago, and all that's coming to fruition. Nick Firmino, another one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not as long, but another one. Yeah. So it's just, you just can't go into it with the same mindset that you're watching a Division I team. It's just, that's not what it is. But go and have fun. Mostly, like, go have fun, because it is a fun venue. It's a fun place to go. And going back to Javier Armas, like, one of the things he said in that interview yesterday was like, come out and support us, because soccer players, like, we thrive on playing in full stadiums. And understandably, like, Fifth Third Bank might not be full, but they have a decent turnout and it could be better. Go enjoy it. Like, tickets are cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Go have fun, and then you go, like, for this one tonight, go watch Chattanooga FC, which is a good football team. They're local. If you then want to go see them play, they're in hour and a half, 2 hour drive, like, it just expand your horizons a little bit just because it's fun.
Yeah. And so it is all a part of the three-dimensional approach that we like to talk about here, is support your local clubs. And if it's NPSL in your own, in your own part of the world, if it's an NPSL club, great. If it's a Gulf Coast Premier League team, great. If it's an MLS Next Pro, great. If it's, USL League One, fantastic. USL Championship, whatever. Support your local clubs, and you can sit there and be a part of helping grow the game and exposing it to others. And, it's like, they told two friends, and so on and so on and so on. And that way you can spread the education of what's going on and spread the support for a club, which is what we're all here for anyway, because we've always said rising tide lifts all boats. And the 2's are an example of that, where you can have that education and you can have that knowledge base and tell others about what's going on, and they can become more knowledgeable and they can become engaged. And it turns into a great circle that you can have with Atlanta United too, as we're talking about in this instance.
Yeah. My middle son, the one that is actively playing a lot this year, so the first time he got to see Fifth Third was actually at the Open Cup the disastrous Open Cup last year,
Okay.
which we will not speak of anymore. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, he got to see the venue, and then he got to see kind of like how intimate it is and how like close you get, and just how fun it is. And then they went back with the opener this year. I was there covering it. They were down in the stands.
Sure.
He had been asking to go back since that Open Cup match, and like for us, it's a drive. It's a drive.
Yes.
Quite the drive, but it's something that we're trying to do more of this year because, you know, for one, like he enjoys it because it's just a different atmosphere. But you know, you got to think too. I mean, if some of you guys have kids, like you're seeing some of these kids that are playing that are, you know, 15, 16. Aiden Torres just turned 16 like a month ago.
I know.
You know, so in a way, it's a little bit of a more, I think, an inspiration than maybe going and seeing somebody like Thiago Almada, who, in a lot of ways, seems like that's just that superstar that's going to be a level that's very difficult to get to. Not impossible. I'll never say that.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you see a kid like Aiden Torres or like Caleb Wiley, who has spent most of their life here in the same town that you're growing up in as a kid. Like, I think it adds just a different familiarity to it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then of course, just like supporting them in the same way that you would the first team is important because it gives them the ability to kind of thrive on that environment, whereas they might not somewhere else.
And you can yell at officials at close range too.
Yes, which my son did, and then I heard about it later.
And they can hear you too. And so,
Uh-huh.
yeah, and that's you could be LGP and just yell at officials and be one of the large voices there at Fifth Third. So, if you can make it tonight, fantastic. We'll love to see you once again. 7:00 pregame, a little after 7:30 kick. Me, Jarrett, and Maddie on the SDH network with Chattanooga FC and Atlanta United too. You can't escape it. Before we go forward, now that we've gotten into the midweek after what's happened the last two times out, and it is 5 points left on the table. What has I will go away from the weekend and I will focus on Monday and Tuesday since we see you on Wednesdays. What has been the overarching conversation pieces there at SNS about Atlanta United as they're getting ready for a match in Chicago against a team that I think, once again, still having issues down the left-hand side because not everybody's back at full strength. Chase Gasper's still out. Andrew Gutman was on the bench last time. You're still trying to figure out what to do at left back. I think opportunities are there for Atlanta United going forward in this match against the Fire at the Spaceship on the weekend.
I think, you know, one of the things that we've talked about a lot is you have to win this game.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we can talk about the road record all day and beat the dead horse all day. This one wouldn't be as big of a deal had you not dropped 5 points in the last two matches. And you could even argue you dropped 7 because you go back to New York City. And I mean, either team could have won that game, but Atlanta could have won that game very easily. And so in a way, that one feels a little bit like a tough pill to swallow, but nothing like Philly and Cincinnati. Philly and Cincinnati are great teams. You can tell the scouting that they did going into these matches. Chicago is not a great team. I mean, objectively, like they're not a great team. They're struggling. And so take away the road aspect. You've got to win this game. You have to get 3 points. Like Shaqiri, who has admittedly not been as great as he should have been, probably won't even play anyway. And you've already beat them once recently. So if there's any game that you need to turn around a lot of things that are going on right now, it's this one, because, you know, you always want the road win because you need it. You need to improve your road record. Was such a focal point in the preseason. And then you've got to start getting 3 points because you think about what could have been. You know, we always do that. Mm-hmm. Well, what could have been had they done what they needed to do in the past 3 matches, they would be sitting in first or second right now. And so that's frustrating. As far as matchups, like I've done a little bit of like looking into it. I feel like we just did it for, you know, the previous match. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think Chicago overall is just weaker in just about every position than Atlanta. And I think if there's one thing, like Atlanta wants to focus inward, they have got to get the same work rate out of the left wing as they are getting out of Saba on the right wing. And we can have a discussion about Saba, who I think has just been the unluckiest man on the planet with finishing lately.
Yeah.
He's doing all the great things. He leads the team. No, I'm sorry. He is 0.2 behind Yakimakis in expected goals. He's at 3 right now. Yakimakis is 3.2. He's getting in all the right places, doing all the right things. He's defensively actually been really good, and he has gotten no credit for that. But you're not quite getting the same production out of the left-hand side. Of course, injuries, you've had a lot going on there.
Yeah.
But I think if you're going to focus inward, like Pineda and all of the players have talked about this year, you're going to have to find something that makes that left side work as well as Saba and Brooks do on the right. And maybe that's just getting healthy. I don't know. But I do think that Atlanta can go into this match and just out-talent Chicago in pretty much every position on the field.
When we've been focusing on the left, I mean, yes, it is a bit of a loose construct anyway, because we'll sit there and the starting 11 as it is pictured, sometimes not accurately, but formationally anyway. Formations we've always thought of as a bit of a loose construct. So, yes, you're in a 4-3-3. Yes, these players are in the graphic that we see on television. But as soon as the whistle goes, what you've seen in that television graphic will not always apply. It is not a static kind of a thing.
Yep.
We have seen Saba start on the right-hand side. There have been times when Gonzalo Pineda has called for a switch, and we see Saba creating problems on the left. So, is it, until it is figured out what happens on the left, and what I would posit is, and Jared is probably along these same lines, is that Mosqueda right now is probably right at his best as one of those super subs that gives you 20 or 30 and comes in and runs against tired legs at a back line and drives them crazy. Tyler Wolff has had opportunities, and I think that with Xande Silva, Xande seems to be a rhythm guy. It's like you bring him in, he hits that first jumper, you keep feeding him. And if he's not hitting the jump shot, then you try to feed him to get the shooter out of the slump, and then we see where it is. But I think that injuries also where Xande is concerned are injuries where Xande, yeah, I did have that right with subject-verb agreement. where Xande is concerned, injuries kind of take him that extra step back. And so you've got to get him into game rhythm, and then you've got to get him into rhythm when it comes to shooting and being active on the left. And so you're stuck with this. You're stuck with multiple questions on the left-hand side, and that was why Cincinnati flopped Miles from right center back to left center back to guard against Saba and Brooks coming down the Atlanta attacking right and say, okay, tell you what, you're going to have to beat us with activity off the left-hand side or big switches in moments. And so, that worked for Cincinnati on the weekend, flopping Miles and trying to protect against Brooks and Saba getting after you.
Yeah, and admittedly, like Brooks and Saba gave Miles Robinson hell. Like it was, they did well. I mean, but Miles did well too, and Miles paid for it with his body a couple of times. But
yeah, we talked about the one alleged incident that raised the people's eyebrow, at least here on
yeah, a little sketch, but yeah,
yeah. Learning the ways of the dark arts at Philadelphia Light. Yes.
Yeah. And I was like, and my wife was even saying like,
wow.
Yeah. We were just getting back from our anniversary from the Great Wolf Lodge, and we were watching the game, and she was like, wow, they've changed Miles Robinson. I was like, it didn't take long, did it? But no, I mean, I think you're spot on with the Xande thing. Like he's a flair guy. And I don't just mean flair as in like the dribbly boy kind of stuff. Like he feeds off of, I think, a lot of things like the crowd. I think that is very, very much like he's a personality guy. He really is. And if he can get going, man, he's fun to watch, and he's going to create opportunities and he's going to create chances. But if he's not, you have the team, coaching staff, everybody has to figure out a way to get him involved. Yeah. Because when he is involved, he's one of the better left wingers in MLS. But unfortunately, there's just it's not been, I think, good enough at this point. But yeah, choppiness, injuries notwithstanding, like I still don't think you need to like make any moves. Yeah. But with the Mosquera thing, I think I was screaming from the rooftops, and a lot of people disagreed with me, that Tyler Wolf should have started this match, and you just brought in Edwin as you did, as that guy that causes absolute chaos.
Yes.
On tired legs, because it's worked every single time. It's worked. Like when he does this, when he comes in the 60th minute or whatever, he is uncontrolled chaos. And somebody mentioned it. And I'm so sorry because I'm not going to give credit to the right person, but it was mentioned in a tweet or somewhere, Discord, that he is so chaotic that he doesn't even know how to control his own chaos, which is true. I think his decision making, maybe a little bit in the final third, is just like, it's almost like his body's moving too quick for his mind to figure out what to do. That's okay though. Like he is a much more refined product than he was a year ago, and he's still tracking in the right direction. And I like Edwin Mosquera a lot. I think he earned the starting spot. That narrative has been thrown out. He earned that starting spot. I just don't think he needed to have it because he's so much more effective being a super sub, quote unquote. I think you go into this one against Chicago, and if Shonday cannot start, I think you throw Tyler Wolf out there. And I know people might not like that. There's been some, arguments about Tyler.
Right.
I still think you start him. He's still getting in the right places. He just hasn't been finishing. He, hasn't maybe had like the great season that he had last year so far.
Right.
But yeah, give him time. Let him tire out whoever he can tire out, and then you bring on Edwin and let Edwin do what he does. And I think you'll have success there.
Injuries, that was 5 2 weeks ago. It was less than 5, rounding off various stages of getting back healthy. Gigi came in and gave you 30, and that list of 5 seems to be getting smaller and smaller and smaller, where Stian seems to be getting closer to making his appearances. Don't think we have I think Derek is still another couple of weeks away at the back. I'm trying to think of, I don't know. I don't think we have a Jamal update yet.
So I can run through if you want me to.
Run, go for it.
I can run because I was there yesterday and I was trying to keep an eye on him.
Give me my updates from yesterday, sir.
All right. So let's see. Stian Gregerson came out he didn't have like a brace on his leg or anything. He came out, trained with the first team.
Okay.
He trained all the way up until the very last drill that they did. So he trained, let's say 80% of the day with the team.
Got it.
Jamal Tiare is progressing much faster than I think they thought.
Mm-hmm.
He was out yesterday. I think training on his own, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Derek Williams was training on his own. He was running right there in front of us. So he was just kind of doing stuff with the physios. Shonday also doing stuff with the physios. And I think the thought process behind that is he was good to be a sub last weekend, but they're also not trying to force too much.
Yeah.
So I honestly wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start again this weekend. I think it's going to be Tyler Wolf or Mosquera.
Mm-hmm.
But he's on his way. And then let's see, I'm missing
Noah and the migraine.
Yes, that was okay. So Noah, first one back out to the training ground as always. Very first one out of the building onto the pitch. And apparently he's feeling good. He's all set. He had a migraine to where he literally could not see well. And it sucks because he was having such a good game, I thought. But yeah, he's over it. And it was just one of those freak things. Hopefully that's not like, some people just have those like consistent migraines that they just pop up whenever. Hopefully that's not a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's everybody.
Yeah, that's not allowed. Continual migraines not allowed. But that is, when we caught up with Abe Gordon on Monday, Abe suffers from migraines, and his affect him differently when it's not, the way that it affected Noah there at 45. But migraines affect folks in different ways. And to hear about Noah and getting back out there, you're hoping that it is something that can be monitored / controlled, and that Noah, comes through it and keeps track of his migraines, and that the migraines behave, I guess, is probably what I'm saying when it comes to.
Yeah, and I also know, like, again, I always mention that about Noah with him being the first one out of the building, because I think it shows his character. Like, it shows he wants this so bad. So he would not have been okay being subbed out at halftime if he didn't have an issue. Like, he had to come out. So, I mean, yeah, I know people that get migraines that are just like incapacitating. And apparently this was one of those for Noah.
Yeah, you've got to go into a dark room, shut it down, lay on a sofa, leave me alone, don't talk to me, because I can see your words and they're vibrating in front of my face.
Yep.
You can't navigate those kinds of things.
Yep.
We had the trade deadline, the transfer deadline, the early one anyway, before the rules change in the summer. And we get to either add a DP or a U22 and go 3-3 or whatever with the new rules coming up in the summer. And yesterday it was another edition for Messi and friends. You get an injury, it's like lose one, get one. Literally, it's like you're sitting there and it's like I'm shifting players, and now they brought in yet another player. I wish, for the love of all that is holy, there you go, properly hydrate, yes, that we knew what the rules of engagement were and where folks were going up against the cap, because you put Gomez on the shelf for 6 weeks, then you bring in Matias Rojas, and it is a loan toward the end of this season with another couple of years behind it as options. But I know that folks are going to look at the team at the top of the Eastern Conference and sit there and go, bruh, how do you do this? And yes, it might be financial witchcraft from Chris Henderson, but once again, I think that it screams that we need to know, especially coming up toward deadlines and going into trade periods, where things stand with folks and why folks can do what they do. And I think it's one of the things that is one of the big items at the top of my list to get more transparency when it comes to the financials in this league, because people are raising their going, dude, how do you do this? And Chris Henderson's like, yep, I got it covered.
Yeah, I'm good. And I'm not going to reveal any secrets, because right now I've figured out the cheat code and I'm using it and I'm not telling it to anybody. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
same in LA with Giroux. It's like, okay, so seriously, you're bringing in Olivier Giroux.
Yep.
You're bringing Giroux, like the one of the most handsome men in all of soccer. You're bringing him in, John Thornton. Yep.
Like, what are you offering? Like, Atlanta, I don't know that you can do this in the roster rules. I'm sure you can, because they kind of did it with Messi with the Apple TV deal and stuff. But like, we have Coke.
Yeah, you got to do an NIL deal here somehow.
Yeah, we've got like so many giant corporations that I'm sure would be totally happy sponsoring some big time players to come to Atlanta if we pay them $1. And yet they're making tons of money from a giant corporate sponsor. Hey man, like, let's jump in that boat. If that's how we got to get around fake monopoly money and GAM or whatever, do it. I don't care. But yeah, I would just love to see the spreadsheet for some of these teams. I'm curious. And admittedly, like, I could care less what every other team except for Atlanta does, with the caveat that I just want to look at Miami's and say, like, what are y'all doing? I just want to know. So somebody's going to write a book on it one day.
Yeah. So you're paying him $52,000 and giving him a massive 7-figure apartment in Boynton Beach or whatever. It's literally the NIL deals in Major League Soccer would be fantastic to find out about. And it literally, it's like you're going with all of these big names. Sure, you're only paying Hugo Lloris $300,000. Is Jason
Right.
like, yes. And you have Messi all over the place with the ads. Speaking of that and his deal, it is in the ether that Apple might be signing the contract for the Club World Cup.
Yeah.
And that might make things more interesting and might draw more eyeballs to Major League Soccer if they sign the Club World Cup. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Club World Cup has wild cards that they can introduce into the tournament in this new 720 team format that they're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
And what do you bet? I'm thinking out loud. Hear me out here for a second. if Apple was to get the Club World Cup, and you can go ahead and start the helicopter noises in the background if you want. If Apple was
close the windows, John.
Yeah, if Apple was to get the Club World Cup, say, ... perhaps, maybe, like I said, I'll when you give the answer, I'll do the search on the wild card thing. But I thought I saw somewhere that there could be wild card entrants in the Club World Cup in 2025. So if Apple was to say, oh, I don't know, get the contract and get the streaming rights, A, it would draw more eyes to their Major League Soccer product. B, there is a club that is in this Major League Soccer product, if this wild card status does in fact exist, that might have a bit of a player with a bit of a tie to subscribers and earning more money if folks decide that they want to up for Apple TV. I'm just thinking that maybe, possibly, for a wild card in this Club World Cup, that you could find a way for a particular club down in South Florida to be in this tournament that you might be getting the streaming rights for. I mean, I'm thinking out loud. It's just something that's popping into my head, Tyler. It's there. And I feel like Gilbert Gottfried. It's right there. It's a thought. It's just like, well, what if we have this team over here that's in the property that's attached to Apple TV, and then Apple TV has this thing? What if this team that's over here that's separated by this one entity and idea? What if this team was to, I don't know, jump over and leapfrog into this third pot here for the Club World Cup? Am I far off?
I can't imagine where you're getting that from. I can't imagine that was just pulled out of thin air.
It was just something that
I can literally hear Don Garber driving to the bank as we speak.
But I mean, if 1 + 1 = 11, then you're ending up with it, and you're like, okay, Club World Cup, you're expanding into like 9 gazillion folks.
Yeah.
And with the U.S. hosting the tourney, 32 teams, 8 groups, 4 teams.
It would only make sense. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm looking at the list of teams now so far. I mean, of course, we have time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you have. Oh, that's what it is. You have your 4 CONCACAF teams. Which right now are Monterrey. Seattle Sounders. Leon. And to be determined. So that one will go to the winner of the Champions Cup for this year. But then separated down below UEFA, OFC, and CONMEBOL, you have the host slot that also belongs to CONCACAF. So there's your answer. Or at least part of your answer.
Okay.
The hosting slot will go to, I'm sure it's going to be like Sharknado FC.
I mean, it could be our buddy John Schuster and our friends at Duluth FC out of the NPSL.
There we go.
You could have some curling going on in the opening ceremonies. So I'm not far off with that host slot idea.
No, I think you're spot on. Okay. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Because let's see, you have. Where does Philly fall into this? Philly falls into this somewhere.
Probably in the CONCACAF hemispheric considerations.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I don't know. I'll have to read this later. But yeah, I'll have to read this later and figure it out. But yeah, I mean, those are the 4. Well, those are the 3. Plus, you have 2 spots left over. One being the host team.
Yes, the host team. Yes.
Yeah.
And so perhaps, in a new stadium that is allegedly, possibly, probably being constructed near an airport in South Florida that's really off of a golf course.
I can't imagine how this was all planned out.
I'm just saying. It was an idea. So when is the next live SNS, sir?
That is going to be tonight.
Okay.
and at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Um,
Are you going to be live from Kennesaw doing the show?
no, that would be really cool. Actually, I would love to do that if I can make it happen. Because I really wanted to see this game in person. I really did, the 2's in Chattanooga.
Just do it on your phone. Just literally, you go to the match. You're in the press box. You're hanging out with the rest of us, and Sid and Tommy are in their imitation palatial studios, and you're actually live on the scene, and not allowed to show any actual game video. So I mean, hi, I'm here in Kennesaw. It's pointed at you in the stands, and I'm having a great old time. Where are you two? I'm here in my office.
Tommy, I'm here in Ohio.
Yeah, Tommy.
That great state of the union.
Yes, Tommy's in Ohio. I mean, Tommy should go either to Northern Kentucky University and go see FCC2, or go to historic Crew Stadium and go check out Crew 2. I mean, that's go.
I keep telling him.
It's like,
I keep telling him he's all hyped up because they're potentially, well, I guess there's talk of Cleveland getting a women's team.
Okay, and there's also, I think there's also a USL franchise that's headed to Cleveland in the next couple of years too. So
yep. So
yes,
he's excited.
Invest and invest well. As always, my friend, thanks for coming on for Wall Pass Wednesdays and sharing your wisdom. How can folks follow along on all of the media that Scarves and Spikes are up to?
Twitter/X, whatever.
Yeah.
Is Scarves, the letter N, Spikes. Mm-hmm. And then scarvesandspikes.com is probably the easiest place to go because it's got all the links and all the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm ATL Pilgrim, as you can see on the screen.
Buy the gear. Buy the gear.
Huh?
Buy the gear and buy the stuff.
Oh, yes, please. Coffee mug, beer glass, hat, hoodie, whatever. Walking billboard here. Yeah, not on purpose. It's just I feel like if I don't wear this hoodie now, mm-hmm. I'm rapidly running out of days in Georgia that I can wear it. So
I mean, that's why when we're here in the air conditioned environs, we're always repping. We're always repping the gear. So as always, great to catch up with you, my friend. We will see you next home match. We'll probably talk to you before then, but on to Chicago and on to Chattanooga FC. Be safe.
All right, thank you. I will drop some Derby names in the chat.
Yes, Derby names in the chat. So that is the QOD. So Tyler's going to do that. He's going to continue to be hydrated, and we will catch up with him when he feels like he wants to crash the show.